Jacob Turner, man, good to have you here.
Good to be here, man. I'm so excited. Big fan of the show. Been watching a lot.
Thank you. And I'm officially a fan of you now that I finally got to see you play last night.
Yeah, that was a good show. It was wild. That crowd was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. Amazing, Nails always brings it.
Yeah.
So when we saw you coming up on our calendar, I was like, man, Jeff, let's try to. I wonder if we can see him play before his interview. And it turned out Saturday Night Nails, formerly known as, and then now we're here the next day, and my old butt's tired. And I stayed for 2 whole sets.
I know.
I've had my coffee for today, so I'm running there too. I got you.
Yeah, everybody knows by now that we're out halfway through the second set. We're gone, and I went up to Sean after the second set, and I was like, "Hey, we're still here.
We made it through."
You'll notice me and Jeff are both wearing our pod shirt. We absolutely emailed each other and coordinated that.
Yes. Well, you have to. We're matching.
So yeah, you sounded awesome last night. I want to thank your dad Trip and your mom Tamara.
Yeah,
is that how you say her name?
That is exactly how you say their names. Okay. She gets a lot of weird ones because of the spelling of it. So like people are like Tamara or whatever.
I've thought that. I didn't know.
Well, they let us sit at your table, so that was awesome, and we had a good time. Awesome. And everyone else at that table.
Your dad had a better time than anybody else at that table.
Yes,
though. He was enjoying himself.
Your parents are very proud of you.
Yeah, I'm so lucky because I know, with industry and with all those sorts of things, it's pretty common. I've got friends that, really haven't had the support system that I have. And so to have parents that are not only willing to, support with gear, support with rides and all that sort of thing, but also be there to be at the gigs, you know, and help network. And, when I was coming up, it was one of those things where I really didn't know a whole lot about the industry, period. And it was about, my parents like, hey, like you got to go talk to those people because networking is important and making relationships and all those sorts of things. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they're absolutely right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And your dad was definitely on Facebook and then he was getting notifications from people he follows on Facebook that released a video of your solo. Yeah. And he's like, who released this? And he's like, someone's here. Who's here? Someone's here.
He's like scopes them out. It's just it's the disturbance in the force thing. Yeah.
But that's huge to have parents to support you that way, and that's awesome because you can't do it without it.
Oh, so absolutely not.
I would gather. So let's start when because you started young. So
I did start young,
like 8 years old, right? Somewhere around there.
About 8's when I started taking it seriously. I got my first drum kit actually when I was about 4. I was coming home from church, as you do, right? And I had my nice suit on. And my grandparents were at the house, and what was awesome about it was walked in, and there was this really, when you get the equivalent of it, it's that baby first act kind of, first deal, and it's, 2 rack toms and a kick drum, a little splash cymbal. But to me, I was like, oh, like this is the coolest thing.
Amazing. Dude, my first guitar came out of Sears Roebuck, and you don't even know what that is, do you?
I don't. I really don't.
Most of our audience knows what that is.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad. So I would gather your parents seemed just genuinely awesome, but I would gather when they saw you starting to progress and like really catch on to drums, did they catch on to that early on and say, we need to really like nurture this and give you full reign? Or?
Well, I think, to be quite honest, I was a pretty obsessive kid. I went through a ton of different like phases of getting just crazy into a bunch of things. So whether it was like, and it's going to sound really dorky and whatever, but like, NASCAR, wrestling, and all that sort of stuff, and Legos. And,
dude, you're in the South. Dude. NASCAR and wrestling is like a staple.
Oh, dude, it's a staple. And I still am somewhat with wrestling. So
Legos, I always threaten that, someday I'm going to splurge and get like the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
The Death Star.
Have you seen
the architecture?
They're like thousands of dollars now. These these new like the Taj Mahal or like.
But it's like 3,000 pieces, and I can just imagine how much fun that would be. I'm a Lego guy.
No, like build a day, like almost. Yeah, it's like another version of a puzzle. It's awesome.
I could be like that guy that. The guy that has the train station.
Yeah.
That whole setup with its own city and the train. I could do that with Legos.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. So being obsessive, I think one of those sorts of things was I went through phases. 2 of the more prominent ones were I really love music from an early age. I think my original drive with drumming was actually the movie That Thing You Do when I was like 3.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, it's a good movie. And Tom Everett Scott and Steve Zahn, who's the funniest character in that movie.
He played the drummer, right?
So it was Tom,
he was
Tom
the guitar
Everett Scott.
player.
Yeah, no. Steve Zahn was
Yes.
was Lenny, and he sits there. He goes up to the bar. He's like sitting there. He's like, "Do you know what this is?" And he goes, "Presidential flashcards." Stuff like that. Or like
he was on all of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
He was the dad in those movies, and Steve Zahn's so funny. But that movie, I think the scene really for me was when you've got Guy Patterson, who's Tom Everett Scott's character, is the drummer. He it's like at the very beginning, like the opening credit scene, and he like goes downstairs and he's like forgets to turn the light off at the appliance store, but he goes downstairs in the basement and there's a drum kit that he like pulls the massive cloth off of, and then he just sits there and plays along to a jazz record. And I was like, whoa, man, this is really cool. So that kind of started it a little bit, and then as I got older, drums kind of came in and they also went, because you get into sports when you get a little bit older. Played soccer for about 8 years with club, and then right around I think 8 or so is when I started taking lessons and being kind of like really serious about lessons, actually like wanting to hone in the craft, wanting to learn, and then wanting to get out and perform. I ended up joining School of Rock like in 2013, 2014. And from there, like music just kind of took the reins and
nice.
Didn't look back. So
nothing like making a life decision at 8.
Yeah.
Because I had it figured out at 8 too.
Yeah, of course. No, and that's the thing. Some of the things you just can't plan for. Like, I mean, yeah.
I mean, I know you're 8 years old, but when you really started taking it seriously, did you understand and realize, man, I'm pretty good at this? Like, was things coming easier than probably other kids for you?
Partially. I think there were some things that came easier than others. I think, but like, obviously, I think little things like groove didn't really, but when you're in the pocket and when you're like feeling just basically in the pocket in the groove of a song, it almost feels so natural, almost second natured. That was something that I experienced really early. I'm not going to sit here and say I had a really good pocket or anything, but I just had like kind of a basic understanding of, okay, like, this is the basic feel of the song.
And that's what makes School of Rock awesome, because you're getting lessons, but now you're learning how to play with other musicians.
Yeah, it's the practical application.
Really cool.
Because there's stuff you can't teach, and there's stuff you can't learn. Like I remember there was a show we played at 152, probably 2015-ish, and it was like a celebration show. And I had my first experience with the, oh crap, I just dropped a stick and I've got no backup.
Yeah.
So we
lesson learned.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and now I don't ever stray from just making sure that it's right there on my floor tom anytime I'm doing it. But I had to just basically start punching cymbals, and it was great. But part of me was like, it's one of the learning experiences. But like it puts you in those applications of okay, what happens when stuff goes wrong? Do you freak out? Do you push through and make it happen? So
I should probably give context to the audience that don't know who you are.
Right.
And we've obviously by now our intro is given more information, but for perspective, you're 20 years old and man, you play like a seasoned veteran of a 40-year-old.
I appreciate it.
And yeah, I mean the talent is up there. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that because you're still young, So when you say starting from 8, relatively speaking, you know, that's what 12 years ago, and a lot of people after 12 years of playing don't have your abilities.
Yeah.
So anyone that's listening and lives near here in the Memphis area, check out formerly known as, out Jacob Turner on drums. You will be,
You'll enjoy yourself.
You will enjoy it. Yeah. So anyways, enough blowing smoke, my friend.
Yeah,
so,
I appreciate it.
Well, I just want to give everybody that perspective because Jeff and I, just over and over, your name would come up. They'd be like, "Oh, Jacob, just I'm like, well, we gotta check out this kid."
I was like listening to some of those podcasts. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is so." Because like I said, I'm a fan of the show, so like I got to watch Josh's and Brandon's and Alan and Danny Day and just all of them in general, and it's been really cool because like for me, when I came into the scene, like 16, 17, like 2016, 2017 area, I knew that there was clearly history there. You could just kind of walk in and tell.
Right.
But I didn't know the pieces of all those sorts of things. So getting to like hear from all these, people that I consider like mentors and people that have really taken me under their wing, like
Sure.
I've been so blessed to have some of the best musicians that are willing to impart any knowledge that they want to. People like Josh Haynes, like Alan Bone, just to name a few of many that I think have really contributed to me being in the scene. And
so I got to do some math again. 2016 is when you came on the scene.
Yeah.
So that was what, 7 years ago?
Yeah. About 6, 7.
So 13 years old is when you break the scene in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I just thought of. And I thought of it last night because I'm like, he's 20 years old. He's playing at a bar. So how do you break into a scene, in the local cover band bar scene as a minor? How does that work?
Very carefully.
Very carefully.
Because you totally look like a 30-year-old.
Yeah, totally. No. Well, part of that is growing a beard. So
your beard does help.
Yeah, no, exactly. I started. No, and I joke. I was like, well, I grew a beard because I started playing with all these dad rock bands. So it looked really weird if there was like this like babyface 12-year-old
dad rock band.
You know what I mean? Jokingly, because I love. Older music's way better.
No, it's dad rock. I'm good with that.
You like all the right stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
The right stuff. No, but I think as far as breaking into the scene, it wasn't easy by any means. With how it started, I think it was 2016. It was my first year in house band. And we had just gotten done playing Graceland, patio seating area or something.
What was the name of this band?
It was just the School of Rock house band.
Oh, okay.
With School of Rock Germantown. And man, that's I think the hottest gig I've ever played. Like the worst sunburn I've ever gotten in my life. So bad that like I was wearing like dog tags at the time, and like there was like a white chain that was imprinted in my, because I'm really pale and I can't tan. But no, but we so it was like right after that gig, and we're about to go on tour. And then we stopped in for Huey's one night, and Dantones just happened to be playing. And my dad knows Sean and all them from like the Kirby Germantown days, like way long time ago. Sean Few. Sorry, let me clarify that. And he also knows he
gets mad if we don't say his last name.
No, of course. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, many are called, few are chosen. No, I think that's a Sean joke. He says it all the time. But yeah, so they were playing there one night. It was the Dantones. So this has been a while ago now.
So you must know Jeff Houghton.
I know Jeff. I know Jim, and I know Brad.
Jim Erickson.
Atkinson.
That's it. Yeah. I play with him. Sorry, Jim, if you watch or listen. Miss you, man. You're good. Great drummer. Good guy.
Jim's a great drummer. He's such a sweet dude. But no, we played. They were playing there at Huey's, and my dad was like, "Hey, I just told Sean you're going to go play with him." I was like, "Okay."
Who told him this?
My dad. My dad walked up to him and was like, "Hey, so my son's here." He's like, "Oh, is he want to play something?" My dad's like, "Yeah, sure." And then he comes up and tells me, like, "Hey, I just told him you're going to play something." Just like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah.
So
thanks, Dad.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I get the song bank out, and
what song?
Well, just the song bank. They had like a massive song list, and we still do. We learn like 80 songs. We're only going to do 40 of them a night, but we have to know this huge bank so that if anybody walks up, it's like, "Hey, I want to hear this song." It's that kind of thing. So Dantones didn't roll the set list. We don't roll the set list informally known as anymore, like either. So with that one, I was like, "Yeah, I know Detroit Rock City." So played Detroit Rock City. It went really well, except for the one drum break that Sean was basically I screwed up the drum break at the end of it, and Sean goes, "Screw it up again." And this was my first taste of like somebody wanting to help me and not letting me get away with anything, basically. And I appreciated that because it makes you better when people hold you accountable for stuff like that. So with Sean, he was like, "Mess up the drum break again, you won't play with me ever again." I was like, "Okay." So next time, yeah, seriously, that was the thing. And I was like, "Oh, all right, this is new."
How dare a 13-year-old
right
screw up?
Well, Detroit Rock City. Well, he's a massive Kiss fan too.
I was just about to say.
I was just saying, you made
There's
good.
probably no bigger Kiss fan on the planet than Sean Few.
Did that influence your choice? You're like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick a Kiss song because this band leader here.
I bet you didn't know that.
No,
at the time.
I was literally just at the time I was obsessed with some of the, you know, the visuals and just learning about bands, because I used to watch just VH1 documentaries on YouTube all the time. And
Right.
I'm just curious about that stuff. I think learning from people that have really done it and that have really been there in these really high pressure situations, it's part of the beauty of being in this younger generation where there is so much resources at your fingertips.
Oh
you know,
my goodness!
I would sit there and I'd be like, okay, well, what is what is Taylor Hawkins doing in this song? Oh, I can go look it up and look at a live version and see exactly what he's doing. You know, so like little stuff like that. So with Detroit Rock City, what ended up happening is I played it. And then the next time I didn't screw it up, but basically for the next year and a half, maybe 2 years or so, I started filling in and sitting in that same way, playing like just 1 or 2 songs, nothing crazy.
Right.
But for the next year and a half, every weekend, I was with like the Dantones or Twin Soul,
Right.
or Grand Theft Audio, because there's a video that's out there now of me playing Shoot to Thrill with them, which was cool. And all these like guys that are just like, hey, I heard about you, and you know, just like, do you want to play a song with us? And I was like, I'd love to, you know. So,
and was your dad the one just taking you to all these places?
Yeah, my parents were always there with me, because at the time, like I was younger, but we would always go to places like Huey's or places like the Legacy.
Yeah, where they let kids in.
Yeah,
anyway.
where they let kids in anyway. And that wasn't when I started like gigging. When I started gigging, it was probably like, and making money for it was like 15, 16.
Yeah.
And so at that point, they were like, we're just going to tell them you're 18.
So 18 would have been okay.
Apparently fine,
bar?
I guess. I have no idea. So
It worked.
It worked. And here I am at this point.
And
so
you never had any flack from any bar owner, never issue?
Not really. I mean, a couple of them were like, hey, just, you know, at least keep in mind with things, or like if my parents were there, they'd be like, yeah, you're good for the moment. But, you know, I don't want to. I think with me, I was also like, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So I'm also just going to abide by any rules that they put in place, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So
I'm sure you understood. The blessing you were getting to be able to gig at such a young age, man. That's awesome.
Right.
It's a lot of experience. It was good.
Well, so we've given formerly known as here tons of love. We love the band. We think they're great. Everybody knows how we feel about Sean and Seth and Julian and you. But I want to talk about your original stuff too.
Yeah.
Land Divided, which is I don't know all the names of the members of that band. So if you would tell us and give us an idea how that started and where you think it's going to go from here.
Absolutely. Land Divided. So band members, just to right off the bat, my best friend and confidant, rhythm section partner, Zach Perry, that I've been playing with since we were both, I think the first show we ever had together was back in like 2014.
Okay.
So we've been playing music with each other for all of, 8-9 years at this point, way before either of us were qualified to be doing it. So Zach Perry on bass and vocals. Then we've also got Jillian Acor, who's a great vocalist and guitarist out of School of Rock Memphis that we met and we got to tour with. And she's so good. She's a great writer. And also Nick Ireland, who is Bobby Ireland's son. Mm-hmm. And he plays guitar and does a little bit of singing as well. And he's just a great friend that I was able to meet along all these connections. And we're super close.
Awesome.
The whole group is just, we're all very close. We like to joke around with one another and all that sort of stuff. As far as how it started, I only intended to have the band for one gig. I really didn't have any more thought about it. So basically what had happened, I got offered a date at the Stage Stop, which really cool, right?
Sure.
Usually not a lot of people get offered stuff there, and
right
out there in Rock and Raleigh.
Yeah.
Very fun area right now. But so I got offered a gig, and then basically my friend had done a similar thing, and he had done a gig at the Hard Rock with his just for I think just for like a birthday or something like that, and the band that he used was basically the band that ended up becoming Land Divided. And I was like, oh, if he's doing them using these folks for this one gig, why don't I see if they want to help me out for one gig, right? I didn't intend for it to go super beyond that, but what was awesome about it, as soon as we got to the point where we were gigging and we got that first one. After that first one, there's a bunch of videos that went out, and we just got calls from venues, and it just another and another and another and another. And that was a different lineup, but I mean, you know, because people have gone off to college, and
Sure.
you know, life has taken some people in the band away. But now, with the group that we have, you know, we're just grateful to be writing with one another and doing our own original music, but also doing rock stuff. We do a lot of covers, and because you know that's kind of the Memphis scene. Memphis scene is very cover based. If you want to kind of
if you want to be busy
and rock based, a lot of rock,
a lot of rock stuff, but it's really fun. You know,
what would you consider the style of Land Divided?
I would say if I had to like put some bands together that kind of gave the sound of where we're at as a group, there's definitely some Foo Fighters in there.
Sold.
Yeah. Foo Fighters, Queen, Def Leppard, because we've got really big harmonies in some of the songs and all that sort of thing. But also, like, I think there's a good funk element to a lot of what we do, because me and Zach love funk. Just, you know, whether it's modern stuff like the Chili Peppers, or whether you're going back to James Brown and P-Funk and you know, all the classic guys. I mean, I think that's at the center of what we do as a rhythm section, and we're grateful for it. I think having writers in that band that are just willing to kind of collaborate and see what we make.
Sure. Do you guys see yourselves doing a lot of shows this year locally, or is Land Divided something you do more rarely than the cover thing, than the formerly known as thing?
Well, definitely less than formerly. Formerly is just, you know, it's one of those kind of gig private event bands and bar bands, and so naturally you're going to get that as more busy. I think with Land Divided, it's a lot more event based, and as far as like the business side of things, and we'll get into all the nitty gritty of that real quick. You know, with some bands, you're going to have the ones that are your frequent ones, like formerly you're going to see every weekend, so you can go somewhere and watch us wherever you want to.
Right.
But when you've got those event bands, what's good about that from a marketing perspective is you space them out. And so because of that, there's less shows that are happening throughout the year. And so people are more likely to come out and check you out.
Absolutely.
And with the original shows we've been doing recently, it's been cool to see. We got a lot of college kids. A lot of our friends like to come out and hang out and enjoy it. But as far as like frequency of shows, it's been a little bit lackluster, because I mean, we're all in college, and so we're trying to deal with classes and jobs and all sorts of stuff. So it's been a little lackluster recently, but we're still, you know, very much working on things and just kind of creeping up in the shadows, you know.
And in the studio, right? Because we will be playing a song. The song is Onward. So tell us a little bit about the studio experience so far.
Oh, studio experience with Land Divided is always fun. It's always been so. We started off. We used to do stuff with Jimmy Fulp. He produced and engineered our first EP. We're pretty self-produced, but he was there, and he would put in these little things like, oh yeah, well, like we wouldn't have ever thought to just like drop here and just build on this one chord. Like, yeah, it just makes sense. I love Jimmy Fulp so much. Jimmy, shout out.
We like him too.
He's awesome, and great drummer. But he's like, as far as studio, like I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does there. And so love Jimmy. And so we did the first EP with him, and then as we've kind of branched off a little bit, we're just trying to experiment with sounds. So we've been doing stuff at U of M and all sorts of things like that. But as far as like studio takes with Jimmy, it was more individual tracking. So it would be like we would do drums. We would do like all 3 songs drums, and then we would move on to bass for all 3, and then guitars, which inevitably takes the longest because we're super picky about everything, about tones.
All that's typical.
Yeah. And then with vocals, like the amount of harmonies that are in some of the songs, it would take forever.
Yeah.
Because we would get back the rough mixes and we were like, like, I don't really know that I need to sound that bad forever, you know, on Spotify or whatever, you know, so.
This lives forever.
It does.
It does. That's the one thing about studio that is way different from live, because live, it's like, okay, you know.
Right.
It happened.
Yeah,
well, and look, times have changed now to where some of that can live forever too.
Exactly. You can be immortalized on Facebook, dropping a drumstick in the middle of a song.
You know, you always feel bad for a singer that's having a bad night.
Because it happens.
And then that becomes the viral video.
Oh, dude.
Yep.
It's rough. It sucks.
It's horrible. I feel bad for, like, especially some of the like higher up guys. Like you look at like Bon Jovi had that rough night recently.
That was a rough one too.
That was rough.
I was like, I'm like sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is gonna be the thing that lives on forever.
Scott Weiland.
Yeah.
Weiland had some rough ones.
Yeah.
Vince Neil had some rough ones.
Axl Rose.
I mean, he's been having rough ones since the
It's
80s.
just like, it's crazy.
And I'll tell you, I remember, and you don't, this won't apply to you, but it applied to Derek. But way back when, I used to think when I would go to a concert and it was flawless, I would think, how do these guys do this every week, days a week for a year, and they never make a mistake? Oh, sure they did. It just, there were no cell phones recording it and putting it out there for you to see.
Yeah.
No, of course not. You just got them on the good night.
But when I was young, I thought they were always perfect
Mm-mm.
because you just didn't see the screw ups.
Yeah.
But now you see the screw ups.
So you had to go.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to partake, you had to go
Sure.
to
Right.
the show.
Well, and the thing, like, you see that nowadays, but the problem is you're seeing it from a whole new perspective. Like, nobody screws up anymore because everything's locked up to the lights, or everything's on tracks, or everything's so everything is so sequenced and planned out, which from a show perspective is cool. I remember going to see Queen in, like, I think it was 2019 or something like that. And just like Brian May didn't have a pedal board. He was plugged into his AC30s. He had a wah pedal, and that was it.
Yeah.
There was no tracks. The only thing that was tracked was the Bohemian Rhapsody like thing.
Right.
But it was just a live band in a stadium. And I was like, everything else that I've seen, other than like, Foo Fighters, Chili Peppers, there's a couple exceptions, but for the most part, like, you just don't see it nowadays.
But Queen's always been cool about how when they were just 3-piece behind Freddie, Freddie's not on the piano. He's doing his thing. It's a 3-piece band. They always just had such a big sound.
Yeah.
It's crazy how they're able to do that.
Well,
just a trio.
That rhythm section is just so tight.
Yeah.
Like, I remember listening to Brian May on a YouTube video go through the masters of Bohemian Rhapsody. And he's sitting there and he's got the backing track that's just piano and bass and drums. And what is so crazy is how tight it sounds, not locked up to a metronome, right? There's no click tracks back then, but it's just the keys and being perfectly in time, and everything is just perfectly in line. All these little hits and everything. And
the bands had to know how to play with each other back then.
Yeah.
They had to be a unit.
sure.
Now it's a little easier. You can just fix everything.
Yeah.
You just fix anything now.
in the studio especially, you can just sit there and just go, if my kick drum's a little out of place, whoop.
Yeah.
Let's just take the mouse and drag it.
My favorite Foo Fighters album is Wasting Light.
Oh, me too.
And
Buddy. It's the best. I got it on vinyl. It's so good.
End to end. And then of course Butch is on it, and Butch Vig, that is. And they definitely tried to go as old school analog as possible and not fix everything. And Butch was like, "You guys got to get better."
Yeah,
he's telling that to the Foo Fighters. Like, you guys got to go get better.
Yeah,
because we're not going to be able to fix this stuff.
And it's funny, and that's one of my favorite documentaries is Back and Forth, which is on Amazon Prime and all that stuff. If y'all want to check it out, it's really good. You should.
Yeah.
No, but it's a great documentary because it's like this stuff with like Taylor's doing his drum tracking. He's like, I broke a drumstick, or I messed up the pattern, or whatever it is, right?
And Grohl's getting frustrated.
Grohl's like sitting there just like, why, God, why?
And it was cool because it was at Grohl's house, and the drum room was in the garage. And when you see the footage of Taylor down there, you see like a refrigerator behind them. And seriously, it was just really cool.
Like just a toy car. It's like sitting in the corner. Yeah.
Well, before we derail from the original band, Land Divided, let's play a song.
Let's do that. Yeah. And look, when we come back out of listening to this song, I want to talk gear, because last night you confided in me that you are a serious gear nerd.
Oh, I'm a nerd.
I am too.
Yeah.
So we're going to do some gear talking here in a little bit.
I'll take a break when you do that. I'm the worst gear guy ever.
Just walk out.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy Onward by Land Divided.
Yep.
fight, you won the battle. You know you're right. This road you'll travel, leave it all behind. We're straight forward into the never. We're going onward, leave it all behind. We're straight forward into forever. We're reaching onward. We're reaching onward.
All right, that was Onward by Jacob's original band, Land Divided. That was a great song. So tell us a little bit more about the inspiration behind that song.
That song was kind of it was an instrumental track we had already had. Me and Jill kind of got together and wrote the basic form of everything down. We had a bunch of songs that we kind of just had instruments for, but we hadn't really gotten melodies for just yet, and vocals and stuff. And when we were regrouping and kind of like getting together for these new songs that we've been in the studio doing, the first one that kind of came to mind was that one, just because it's a very simple form. It's really easy. It's a nice kind of uplifting sounding track. And so we were like, okay, well, what's the lyric going to be? And I had ideas for verses and all that sort of stuff, but we had ideas for how the vocal was going to go and all that sort of thing. But I distinctly remember just kind of in the chorus, like, oh, well, wouldn't it be nice to just, behind the string? It kind of came up with something like that, as far as melody wise. And then I was actually, my faith is a big part of my life, and I don't want to make any secrets about it. And that lyric actually comes from Philippians, talking about, brothers, I do not consider that I've made it my own, but one thing I do, straining forward to what lies ahead and forgetting what lies behind. Talking about straining onward. And I thought that was a really good lyric. A really uniting lyric too, because I think, with just coming out of COVID, with just coming out of all of these pandemic issues, but also, I think there was some stuff going on in my personal life at the time. And I was like, the idea that like there's a bunch of potholes that you can see going out the back window, but you're never going to prepare for the ones in front of you by looking that way.
Sure.
So let's reavert and kind of fix our eyes on what matters most, and let that be the thing that takes reins. And I think for whether anybody wants to connect those things, that's what the song's about. That's where it came from,
Right.
and I'm thankful that it did, because I think that it's something super important to me, and it's a lyric that meant a lot to me in the moment.
So obviously, faith is a big part of your life,
Mhm.
and as you mentioned in this song, and the little I know about you is that you're also a worship leader.
I am.
So tell us more about that, where you do it, and how, again, there's this age thing. At 20 years old, you're leading worship in a church. Let's learn a little bit more about that journey.
Yeah, God has been crazy the past couple of years as far as planning and timing. To quote my pastor, I consistently question his timing, but I shouldn't.
We all do.
We all do. But I think worship ministry is never something I intended to do. I think that's an important place to start, is that I feel like a lot of people, when they get into worship ministry or when they get into ministry in general, they feel like they've got to be this super qualified person coming in. And I was like sitting there, like, I'm a drummer. What do I know about playing acoustic guitar or getting up and talking in front of people? And for me, it was, I want to be so stuck in my shell, because this big wall of sound is just kind of this barrier between me and whatever's beyond.
Mhm.
And I don't feel comfortable with that. Right. That was,
You're on the front.
yeah,
You're
I'm
up front.
on the front lines, which at that point, like, I kind of was just like, no, like, I'm not, I started feeling the tug on my heart, and I was like, I'm not going, basically. God was like, hey, check this out. And I'm like, mm-mm.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, basically.
Not doing it, dude.
Lo and behold, I, for a while, just kind of said no to a bunch of it. And I had mentors in my life like, hey, you should maybe just consider it. Like you don't have to like make a career out of it or anything, but just consider it. Right. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. My old worship leader, Sam, was like, "Hey, I really think I really think there's a calling on your life for this." And I was like, "No." And I just walked out, and I walked out of the doors there, and then the next day I walk into the doors of the Orchard Church, which is where I lead now. And Andrew, my current worship pastor, who I like to make fun of for being old quite frequently, and he's only like 30, but
Well,
it's really funny.
30-year-olds love it when 20-year-olds do that.
Yeah.
That's right. No, and it's true. You know, we both argue that one of us is more Ron Swanson than the other. And that's our joke. But no, I walked in and he goes, okay. He goes, so I'm going to train you to be a worship leader. And I was like, so after a bunch of prayer, after a bunch of scripture and discerning, understanding all of these doors that had been opened, one of the ways that I think is so great about God and how he works, he communicates with people in ways that they understand. And for me, because I'm super stubborn, anybody that's been in any band with me will tell you that, right? I'm super stubborn and I don't want to see things as clearly as they are. And so what'll happen is like there'll be 6 doors in front of me where he's like, hello.
Yeah.
And then I turn around and I go the other way and he's like, come on. Like, I'm making it obvious for you.
Why are you making it so difficult?
Yeah, exactly. Like it, and when I started to finally come around to that, to understand that like this is really what God has for my life in this season. I don't fully know that this is what my full life is, but it might be, and that's great. Whatever it is, though, I got to a point around 2021 or 2022 ish where I was like, okay, like whatever it is, I know that music's the calling on my life, and I don't know what that looks like, but I'm just trusting you. I know that this is step 1. I don't know what steps 3 and 4 are,
right?
But I know what step 1 is, and the fact that I'm not making step 1 and I know what it is a problem.
Yeah.
In my own walk. And so with that, after getting into worship leading, like the first 2 months, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'd been trained in like looking at songs theologically, so looking at lyrics and dissecting every single word and going, I don't really know that I can biblically say that's true, which is part of what worship leading entails, part of what you're supposed to do. You're taking care of a flock. You're taking care of your body. You're shepherding those people. And so in that way, I was trained. But for me, there was so much I hadn't figured out about it. And so like for the first 2 months, I was like, I don't want to be here. Like genuinely, like I am terrified. I don't like them. This is uncomfortable.
Well, that's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot.
Because in that moment, everyone is relying on you. Not only...
Partly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, everyone's listening to your word, but then meanwhile, you're leading the band. So the band's leaning on you.
The band's leaning on that. And the band knows I'm 20 years old. They know how scared I am about things because I'm pretty honest about things. But in that, what was amazing, one of the big things was like we had talking points, and we had to talk about I was in students, and I remember this very clearly. I was in students, and Andrew was like, you're getting introduced to a song. I was like, okay. How? Basically, like, I don't know practically how to do this. And he goes, here's the deal. All you have to do, just read the word and let it do its work, because the word's never going to return void. Word and spirit are always going to do their work. Just read it, read the word, and let it do its work. And I was like, oh. So honestly, that's pretty much what I've been doing for the past year or so. And I've gotten better about articulating things and knowing how to present stuff in front of people. But, I've been leaning on God's word because it's all you can. It's a firm foundation, as we talk about.
Well, that's part of faith.
Yeah,
you gotta have faith that you don't know what the next step is, but that's where the faith comes in, right?
Right, of course. And so and being obedient to that has been like, and I'll say it right now, like it's been a year in, and I don't regret for a second the decision that I made. I think it has been so rewarding in my life. There's been so much growth that's taken place. I've had so many meaningful conversations, and love my students that I get to lead every single Wednesday, and even on Sunday mornings, love the body that I get to be a part of. So I think it's really important to, when God has that call on your life, when he has that tug on your heart, you may not feel qualified. There's a lyric from Aaron Schuss, because I told y'all I grew up, something we talked about last night. I grew up, my dad was, a lot of 80s hair metal and stuff, but my mom, a lot of the stuff we listened to in the morning rides in the car was like K-Love. Mm-hmm. So, people can make fun of whatever they want to, but there's a lyric from Aaron Schuss, it's, I'm not skilled to understand what God has willed, what God has planned, but I know at his right hand stands one who is my savior.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's all I have at that moment, then His grace is sufficient. I don't have anything to worry about. So,
well, that's awesome.
God
And
bless you.
I'll tell you something that I've learned. You said no to God several times.
I think a lot of people have a problem with that, and so do I.
Well, something that I've learned throughout my time as a Christian is He doesn't take no for an answer.
That's right.
And you're going to do it.
Yeah.
You may not do it.
God is Lord, whether you want Him to or not.
Yeah. So
He doesn't need permission.
no question. Okay. Now I'm going to segue into gear
Oh,
because we're both tremendous gear
yay.
nerds.
I love it.
You play DWs, which
I do.
I play DWs as well, so
Yeah.
we can talk about
I'm
that.
going to
the
take a
rest of
break.
the- Yeah, you can go.
I'm going
He's
to
just
back
gonna
up.
walk
You can go
off.
take a smoke, get a drink.
Like sit there, take a nap.
No.
So how many?
I'm going to sit here and pretend.
that you know
I'm
what we're doing?
interested.
Okay,
Of course.
good deal.
I'm going to try to make it semi-interesting in this way. No, of
No,
course.
go for it.
How many kits do you have?
I am fortunate enough to where we got good deals on drum sets. So I have 3.
Okay.
I have a DW Design series. I've got a Performance series, and I have a Collector series.
You got the whole gamut covered.
I do. So the first one I got in like 2014. It was like my first like real like I'm gonna commit to really trying to put effort into getting proficient at what I'm doing, getting to a level that's more professional on things.
Right.
So that was my first one. It's my workhorse. The Performance Series kit, it's funny, it used to be Thump Daddy's kit, and I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But until like I look at the drum head, so basically I walked in Guitar Center for sticks. Bad idea.
Your mom told me this story.
Yeah, I walked in Guitar Center for sticks, and there's a drum kit there, and it was for less than my design series was, and for all accounts, my Performance series is probably my favorite kit because it's just bombastic and loud. Like,
What
I
did you
am.
play last night?
The design series.
Okay.
I still love that kit though. Like
It's a good looking kit.
I love all of them
And-
for different reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, and y'all know that as much as anything. Like guitars, drum kits, whatever it is. Like, there's just something particular about each one. Like,
Mhm.
if you ask somebody that has a Fender Strat and a Les Paul,
Oh, it's totally different.
right?
Yeah.
It's completely different, but you love both of them
Sure.
for completely different reasons and for
course.
completely different applications.
Yep.
And you'll go through phases where you play one or the other.
And when it comes to
So.
studio work, one works better than another for a
Yeah.
certain song.
Exactly.
Different snares, that's
sure.
why you're
Yeah.
changing
Oh,
up snares. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and then the Collector's Series kit, I actually bought from Full Compass. So we toured one of the tours I was fortunate enough to go on with School of Rock Germantown House Band was we did the Summerfest tour, which was we would go St. Louis and we would go to Chicago. We would play the rave in Milwaukee, and then we played two shows at Summerfest
Right.
in Milwaukee. And one of the ones that I ended up playing in 17, our last show was at the Harley Davidson stage, which is awesome.
Yep.
But the kit that backlined there was this gray crystal DW Collector Series kit.
Mhm.
And they marked it down below half price, like for only using it 4 weeks. So it's a brand new kit.
Right.
And so I bought it. I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna take it for this deal. And on top of that, like by playing it, the Harley stage is something that ever since I had gone to Summerfest, I was like, I want to play
yeah.
that stage. And when
Yeah.
I did, I was like,
Mhm.
yeah. We
Yeah.
played Painkiller. I was
Oh,
really
yeah.
happy about it.
I'm blessed to say I've played it once too.
Yeah.
With Derek Joseph. So
yeah.
there's a
Yeah,
connection there
man.
too.
Derek Joseph.
Unfortunately, I have not. I was hoping to get to this past year, and they got canceled for some reason. Never mind. I know that is the perfect sound for that sad story.
That's a problem. No, that
We
stage.
had a good time though.
Yeah.
We were not the opener, the opener for the opener.
Ah,
Where,
well,
but it was fun.
it was fun. It's a good time. It's a big stage.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
You
Right.
know, that slot is just before the stage lights actually do something because it's daylight.
Right. Because it's daylight still. No.
But it was awesome. We had a great
Isn't
time.
it
It was a
beautiful weather, though?
45-minute kit. Oh yeah. Oh no, I
Oh.
love Wisconsin.
Oh, dude.
I've toured Wisconsin a million times. Another band I used to play in called Mackenzie's Mill. We used to do the Red Rock Saloons up there. There's one
Yeah.
in Madison and Milwaukee.
Oh,
Man, every 6 or 7 weeks or so, we were up
Yeah.
there, man.
Yeah.
And Milwaukee, I'm sure you saw this too. The best music fans.
oh, like
Seriously, Wisconsin. I
Yeah.
mean, they love live music.
because we played. I mean, all the School of Rock slots were like midday, so like it wasn't like crazy crowds, but the people that were there were like sitting there like. You'd come off stage and you'd go in the audience. People would be like, "You're the kid that played like Painkiller." Like, man, that's so cool. And like they're just so into it. And I was like, amazing. And just getting to walk around the festival, see all these bands. Because with School of Rock, what they would do is you'd get these artist passes. And we would check our gear where you could check your bags and stuff. They had a special thing for School of Rock where you'd put your guitars or whatever you had, snare drums, pedals, and you just leave them there and check your bags. And then you just like the whole day
just walk
spend
around
at this music festival, watch a bunch of, people. You'd sit there and there's the tribal drummers. So you sit there and drum with them because they're awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that place is epic.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
It's
so
like
nice.
going to an amusement park where everything is just set in place, but it's stages.
Yeah.
It's all stages.
It's all stages.
And they're all amazing. I think one of my favorite shows I saw there, we saw Blackberry Smoke in 2017.
I'm going to see him in 2 weeks in Nashville.
Oh, yeah. Are you seeing him with the Ryman?
Yeah, it is the Ryman show.
Oh,
I saw him.
you are not going to regret. That's probably one of my top 3 shows I've ever seen. Was I saw Blackberry Smoke at the Ryman on the Find a Light tour, and they're the tightest live band I've ever seen.
So
they're so good.
I went to see him. It was last year with a good friend of mine, Terry, here in Memphis. They played at the Graceland Live.
Yeah.
And I knew of them, but I was asked, "Hey, you want to check them out?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." It sounds like a
why
good
not?
band, and I fell in love with them because I mean they're just such a big sound. What's the drummer's name? The original drummer,
Britt Turner.
Just
He's just
swampy.
Yeah, and it's just the most pocket stuff.
Oh,
and then
yeah. and the singer's great entertainer. He's
Charlie
not,
Starr.
he doesn't have to hang from the rafters.
Right.
He's just owns the stage.
He's one of my favorites because like the stage banter in between songs is hilarious.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments. So we're in the Ryman and they're doing Find a Light, and it's there's a song called "Medicate My Mind" that they have, and he goes, great to be back at the Ryman Auditorium. He goes, this used to be an old Presbyterian church. So here's a song about drugs, and then he goes into it, and it's like, here's a song about drugs, and then goes into Medicate My Mind. I'm like, it's like
That's
stuff
funny.
like that. You just don't.
Yeah, they're a great band for sure.
Reminds me of Sean Few.
No, exactly.
No.
Well, Sean will just say the most bizarre stuff, and
Yeah, he
sometimes me
does.
and Seth
Reminds me of Sean Few.
No, but we crack each other up too. Like in some of those songs, we didn't play Uptown last night, but Uptown is my job the entire show to just sit there and try to make him laugh.
Yeah.
That's the entire. So like me and Josh Haynes have great jokes about Coming to America because I love that movie.
Oh, us too.
And I've got that old pastor, that pastor voice. And so what I'll do is
We got to give it to us. Come on.
yeah. So the scene I'm talking about, it's right before they introduce Randy Watson. It's the Black Awareness Rally at Cummins. I see these contestants for the Black Awareness Rally. And I know there's a God somewhere. There's a God somewhere, right? So what I do is like in these songs, I don't know if you heard it last night. We were doing 24 Karat. And so there's a line that says, blame it on Jesus, #blessed. So I go, blame it on God, #blessed.
Yeah.
So like I'll just sit there and I'll just say random stuff in the middle of them. Like it's just, or like we'll be in Uptown and I'll just say, don't believe it, just Randy Watson. You know, go all ham on that. Old soul.
I heard a couple of those last night.
Because the greatest love of all.
Love of all.
I had to find it.
It's
Chocolate, chocolate.
what a movie. Drops the mic. There we go.
There it is.
There it is. Oh my gosh. No. I don't know if you heard us last night, but whenever like Seth would do a solo or whatever, we was that boy good. That's what that is. It's from that movie. That boy good.
And I don't know if you noticed it. He didn't say that boy can sing. He said that boy can sing.
Yeah, that boy can sing. Yeah. No, that movie, that like Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy, like well done. What
Classic.
a movie.
Classic.
What a movie.
Well, man, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Did we miss anything with the DW talk, Jeff? Are you satisfied?
We're good.
satisfied?
Yeah. He and I can
You
do that for
satisfied?
hours off the
God.
microphone.
That's a whole other like 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but man, it's been cool to meet you. I'm so glad it worked out where we were able to go see you play.
For sure.
It's awesome.
Because more often than not, I'm meeting the guests for the first time sometimes in this room. But the fact that I got to see you play was really cool to come in here now. And
Man, we enjoyed having y'all. It was just awesome to have the dialogue in between sets of like, hey, like I can't believe y'all played that all stuff.
yeah, no, we're having a good time, and we're gonna come out more.
Yeah.
For sure. 'Cause
Absolutely.
you guys are also just really good band, fun to watch.
Yeah.
I want to meet the other guys too. Every time, I never get to meet your guitar players.
Well,
it's always.
I actually made it a priority last night to do that. So I met both of those guys.
Yeah,
and,
Julian and Seth, like they're good.
and
So
another
many stories.
and another lineup there. Everyone's top-notch singers.
Yeah.
Dude, we never talked about your singing.
No, we
like,
didn't.
you have a really cool bluesy voice, man. Like for
Thanks,
real.
man. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some soulness in that.
Very good.
In that old 20-year-old
That's
body
all,
of yours.
it's all that Al Green, baby. I love Stax. Stax
you
is
go.
great. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, before we say bye to you, Josh.
Josh. You're talking about Josh Haynes.
Josh Haynes. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Josh.
I know you love that Randy Watson, man.
That's Jacob. And we're not editing that.
So before we say goodbye to Josh,
Yeah.
let's. Did I just fucking do it again?
You did.
So Jacob, it's been really fun having you here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me so much.
And before we say goodbye for real, Jeff, let's please tell everybody where they can find us.
I don't think I can.
I swear to God, that I wasn't playing. I screwed up all of those times.
Oh my gosh, that was great.
Okay. Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and Facebook. I'm done.
6 p.m. every Monday, Facebook and YouTube. You get the full video episode, and then mornings on Apple and Spotify. Again, go to ShelbyRoadProductions.com, sign up for that free consultation, sign up for that tip jar on Patreon, share our posts, give Jacob some love on his socials. Check out his band. Again, his band is Land Divided. It's awesome stuff.
No, don't. I finally got my composure back. Don't do it.
Oh, and by the way, this song here, courtesy of your boy Sean Few
Yep.
and Jimmy Fall.
man.
Yeah, this is
Gotta love it.
Anyways, thank you for watching, listening, and dealing with our ridiculousness.
insanity.
Take care, y'all. Thank you.
See ya.